Thank you for watching another episode of Dvar Malchus. This week, Sichas from the Lubavitcher Rebbe Royal Words, Parsha, Mishpatim, and blessing the new month of Adar, 5752. We are on page 237. It is known that all events that transpire in the world are by divine providence, and they contain a lesson and instruction in the service of man to his creator, and most certainly regarding major events that are connected to great and important countries in which the majority of Jewish people are found in that time of exile, countries that are influenced and lead the entire world. Indeed, also lesson and instruction from these events is regarding a most essential aspect of the essence of the service of a man to his creator, and likewise regarding the event that transpired in these days. First and foremost, the event that occurred this Erev Shabbos Friday, upon which the leader of the great and important countries gathered together, and at their head, the leader of the two superpowers upon which they decided together and announced a new era in relationship between the countries of the world, nullifying the state of wars between countries of the world, which will express itself also in lessening and nullifying weaponry to the extent of peace and unity, joint efforts and friendly assistance among the countries of the world for the good of the entire humankind. And prior to the event, by divine providence, the president of this country spoke to the entire nation on Tuesday night, the days leading up to the Shabbos, the beginning of the Erev Shabbos, in which he notified and announced regarding his accomplishment in nullifying weaponry to utilize the money which will not be used for purchasing weaponry in order to add in the sustenance of the people of the country. An announcement that was agreed upon by the House of Representatives, where the law of the countries are sent, and which have the strength even from the perspective of the Torah. The law of the country is a law. Therefore, it is appropriate to contemplate upon the lessons and instructions from this event, as well as the specific details of this, even its time and place, including the connection of the content of the time in the Torah, namely the Torah portion of this week, as we shall explain. The lesson and instruction from this event, an important aspect of the service of the Jewish people, are service through the time of exile to bring the days of Mashiach, among the prophecy of the true and complete redemption through Mashiach regarding the conduct of the nations of the world. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into prong hooks. One nation will not raise a sword upon another nation, and they will not teach war anymore. And to add that this phenomenon will be through the accomplishment of King Mashiach himself, as stated in the beginning of the verse, and he will judge among the nations and rebuke many nations, and the judge is the King Mashiach, who will be the master of all the nations, and he will rebuke them, and he will tell the one who is found by him an inquiry, correct your ways. Due to this, there will not be any more wars between the nations, since he will make peace between them. They will not need army weapons, and they will transform them into tools to do work the ground. For indeed, at the end of days, the Temple Mount of Hashem will be magnificently standing, and all the nations will stream to him, and many nations will go, and they will say, let us go and ascend to the mountain of Hashem, to the house of God of Yaakov, and he will teach us his ways, and we will go in his path from Zion, and the Torah will emerge, and the word of Hashem from Yerushalayim, and the teacher King Mashiach, and about him it is written, he will judge. And since in these days the head of great countries of the world have decided together and are announcing regarding nullifying weaponry and are adding in the matters which are necessary for the thriving of existence, thriving of the sustenance of the country and the world at large, the content of the prophecy, and they will beat their swords into plowshares, destroy weapons of war in order to make from them into tools of work the ground, the earth from which comes bread. Behold, it is a clear sign of the beginning of the fulfillment of these prophecies of the true and complete Mashiach through Mashiach, through complete redemption through Mashiach. More clearly, since we find ourselves in the highest times of the coming of Mashiach, here he, King Mashiach, comes. We already see the prelude and beginning of the influence of the King Mashiach on the nations. And he will judge among the nations, and he will rule many nations, and they will beat their swords into plowshares. Through the fact that Hashem places in the heart of the king of the nations of the world, the heart of the king, and the rules are in the hands of Hashem, to decide and announce together regarding the amazing state of they will beat their swords into plowshares. And this is the reason that this decision and announcement transpired in this time, because it is a special connection to the true and complete redemption through Mashiach in literal actuality. And may we add that the connection of this event in the beginning of the accomplishment of Mashiach is emphasized also in the details of this event. the place and time in which the decision and announcement of the leaders of the country regarding the era of beating their swords into plowshares transpired, the place where this event occurred, a designated place where the representatives of the countries of the world would come in order to speak together in a peaceful manner. It is this country and this day, the country and the city in which found the house of our Rebbe in the diaspora, the house of our life, the synagogue and house study, house of Torah, prayer, and good deeds, my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, leader of our generation, which he chose and said to be the center of which the Torah will come forth, the spreading of the Torah, the wellsprings of Hasidism, outward to every corner of the world until the coming of Mashiach, when your wellsprings will be spread outward, which they will also be fulfilled in the prophecy, and they will beat their swords into plowshares. The appreciation of this is as follows. When the leader of our generation came into the lowest hemisphere and the establishment, his residence in this country and in this city, the refinement of the lower hemisphere truly began to transpire in its full strength, namely that also it should be drawn forth the revelation of the giving of the Torah that took place in the upper hemisphere. Furthermore, on the contrary, indeed it has been the source from which spread the main accomplishment of spreading the Torah and wellsprings of Hasidus literally throughout the world, through the emissaries that he sent all over the world, also to the upper hemisphere, even in the furthermost corner in the world, in order to spread the Torah and Judaism among the Jewish people, including especially those that dwell among the nations of the world, speak their language and outwardly act like them. Moreover, and also importantly, spread all matters of good, righteousness, and justice even among the nations of the world through the fulfillment of the Nochai commandments, as emphasized to the great extent in the recent years. The closer we come to the time of the arrival of Mashiach, which then I shall transform the nations to have a clear tongue, call out the name of Hashem and serve one Creator. And in recent time period, beginning with the year of wonders 5750, that's 1990, and its continuation into the year which I will show you, wonders 5751, and wonders in everything 5752, this accomplishment reached zenith in breaking the limitations of that country. He's referring to Russia here, which is the past, and had engraved in their flag and declared war against spreading Torah and Judaism, including a war against the belief of the Creator and conductor of the world. What more? And the imprisonment of my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe leader of our generation, followed by and resulting in him leaving the borders of that country, and notwithstanding this, the efforts of the emissaries, the leaders of our generation in spreading Torah and Judaism continued even there secretly and with literal self-sacrifice until the recent time period in which the decree of the kingdom was nullified, making it possible to continue the efforts of spreading Torah and Judaism with advanced vigor and greater strength in the open, including the fall of the previous regime and the establishment of a new government under the motto of righteousness, justice, and peace, and the foundation of the belief in the Creator and conductor of the world. And in continuation to this, on this era of Shabbos, the new leader of that country met with the leader of this country, together with other leaders of great countries in the world. And this conference, they accepted and announced the resolution whose context is, and they will beat the swords into plowshares. And may we say that the fact of this conference resolution and announcement occurs in the city of the leader of our generation, may my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, in which the leader of the countries gathered today, also including the leader of this country, that needed to come from the capital of his city, alludes to the fact that all this is an outcome to the achievements in spreading Torah and Judaism, righteousness and justice throughout the world, that has been and is being accomplished by the leader of our generation, the Mashiach of the generation, to the extent that through the perfection of those above mentioned service in these days, the entire world has become fit for the accomplishment of the King Mashiach. And he will judge among the nations and rebuke many nations, and they will beat their swords into plowshares. And also the time in which the event occurs within the time period itself is an auspicious time in connection with the redemption for a number of reasons. Due to the day of the week, Erev Shabbos, Erev, and preparation for the day, its entirety Shabbos, and the rest for everlasting, upon which Hashem removes destruction, entities, including weapons from this world. And furthermore, since we add from the weekday to the holiness of the Shabbos, analogous to the wolf which snatches from it and from after it, that we must snatch from the time of the weekday and make it into the holiness of Shabbos. Indeed, the state of the day that is Shabbos, he removes destructive entities from the world, is already accomplished on Erev Shabbos. Due to the day of the month, the 26th of the month, the numerical value of the name Havaya of Hashem, an idiom of Meheva, creates, which alludes to the state of the world in which the time to come, in which it will be clearly evident that through the entire creation, that the creation of every existence is through the name Havaya, as the verse says, and the honor of Havaya will be revealed, and all flesh will see together that the mouth of Havaya spoke, and as a result that there will be no room for undesirable matters, destructive entities and weapons. As it is written, they will not do evil nor destroy, for the world is filled with knowledge of Havaya. And even more emphasized in the unification of these two unique days as one, that the 26th day of the month occurs on the 6th day of the week, which is similar to the 6th day of creation, the day upon which Adam was created, the main part and purpose of the entire creation, and through and after the renewal of this creation every Friday, the renewal of the creation of the entire universe is accomplished. And especially when the 6th of the day occurs on the 26th of the day of the month, numerical value of the name Havaya, an idiom of Mahava. May Hava, the renewal of the creation of the entire universe, is emphasized to an even greater extent. Furthermore, and also important due to the connection of this time to the leader of our generation, being that it is the last Erev Shabbos of the month of Shvat, the 11th month, which the 10th of this month is a Yom Halulu of the completion of the culmination of the service of my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe leader of our generation, Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak, and on the 11th day of this month, the continuation and renewal of his leadership with advanced vigor and greater strength came into fruition, including the culmination and completion of the service of the past generation, the last generation of exile, which is indeed the first generation of redemption. At the end of 42 years of his leadership of generation, which we may say they correspond to the 42 journeys in the desert, the nations at which point are already prepared and standing ready to the land of Israel in the true and complete redemption, is spoken at length in the previous Hasidic gatherings. Thus also in the time, in addition to the place in which the announcement regarding they will beat their swords into plowshares accord there as an emphasis to the connection to the accomplishments of the leader of our generation, my revered father-in-law, the Mashiach of the generation, which through him the fulfillment of the prophecy of they will beat their swords into plowshares is accomplished. And we connect this with the Torah portion of the week, the Torah portion of Mishpatim, which begins, and these are the laws in which you shall place before them, upon which Rashi comments, and these added more to the first ones, namely, as the first ones are from Sinai, as two, these are from Sinai, before them, and not before Gentiles. And even if you don't know regarding the particular law, they judge it as if the laws of the Jewish people nevertheless do not bring it before them in their courts. The content of the Torah portion of Mishpatim is, in the name denotes, laws between man and his friends that are obligated by human and intellect, things that are said in the Torah as a law which had they not been said, it would not have been made sense to them, to the extent that if the Torah would not have been given, it would not have learned modesty from a cat, and we would not have learned not to steal from an ant. And furthermore, their obligation is understood not only in the intellect of the Jewish people, a wise nation rather, also in the intellect of the nations of the world, to the extent that it is possible that regarding several laws, the nation of the world would judge them in a similar manner as the laws of the Jewish people. And when we say that, therefore it says in the beginning of the opening of the Torah portion, and these are the laws, even these are from Sinai, that are also laws which are obligated by man and intellect, by human intellect, must be fulfilled, not only because intellect obligates them, rather due to the command of Hashem, and these commands are also understood in human intellect, because so it is the will of Hashem, and for the reason placed them also the intellectually understood laws, Mishpatim, before them, and not before the Gentiles, although they judge them, like the laws of the Jewish people, since their laws are a result of human intellect obligating them, and they must be a result of the command of Hashem. And even deeper, the verse, and these are the laws, namely that even these are from Sinai, we must say, means that they are the reason for human intellect obligating the intellectually understood laws is from Sinai. Had they not been given from Sinai, human intellect would not obligate them, like the first ones. Laws that would not have been given laws that would not have thought of had they would not have been given. And the explanation of this is that the intellectual obligation is an outcome of the fact that regarding these commandments, the will of Hashem, which on its own transcends understanding, was clothed also in the wisdom of Hashem in the Torah. And since the Torah is the blueprint which with the world was created, these laws became obligatory from the world's point of view, and automatically also in human intellect, including the intellect of the nations of the world, that they have an innate learning towards the laws and are obligated from the viewpoint of the wisdom of Hashem at Sinai. And based on this, we may also say an innovative explanation of the words of Rashi, and these added more to the first one, that the additional quality over the first one from Sinai is that the laws that were given from Sinai are also drawn into human intellect, which this is the content of the innovation of the giver of the Torah from Sinai, that the decree and division between the upper realms and the lower realm was nullified, that the wisdom of Hashem, the upper realms, shall be drawn forth and permeate human intellect, the lower realms that are understood, and the lower realms, even without outer influence, had an innate learning towards it. Only that together with it must be evident that their intellect leans towards these laws due to the wisdom of Hashem. Even these are from Sinai. And this concept must also be by the nations of the world with regard to their fulfillment of the no-hide commandments, that even through the intellect leans towards them. Nevertheless, they must accept them and do them because Hashem commanded them in Torah. However, if one does not, one does them because they make sense, he is not considered a righteous Gentile, and it is not among their scholars. And the ultimate perfection of this will be in the days of Mashiach, the preoccupation of the entire world. Even the nations of the world will only be able to know Hashem, as it says, for the world will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem, namely that the knowledge of Hashem, knowing the world, knowing the wisdom of godliness, and the like, and the main phenomenon of Sinai is drawing forth and permeates human intellect. And may we say that this is the idea, and may we say that this idea is alluded also to the connection of the Torah portion. And they saw the God of Israel, and beneath his feet there was a brick of sapphire. And they saw Hashem, and they ate and drank, alluded to the fact that seeing godliness, Sinai is drawn forth and permeates human intellect and unites them with a person like food, and they ate and drank, which becomes a part of one's flesh and blood, accomplished through studying a deeper aspect of Torah in a manner of understanding and comprehension. They will gain sustenance from it, and the teachings of Chabad Hasidus include also through translating the and through the teachings of Chabad Hasidus, we learn about the teachings of the 70 languages of the nations of the world, alluding to the world Levanas, bricks of sapphire, which bricks are man-made, alluding to the letters of the 70 languages of the nations of the world, so that it will be understood also to the Jewish people that as of yet do not understand the holy tongue, including that it should be understood also to the nations of the world, since they too are obligated to deny idol worship and believe in the Creator and conductor of the world, which this is the preparation for the fulfillment of the prophecies. Then I will transform the nations to have a clear tongue, to all call out in the name of Hashem and serve one Creator. And with this, we can also truly appreciate the above mentioned event, the decision and announcement of the leaders of the world's nations regarding the state of, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares on Erev Shabbos of the Torah portion of Mishpatim. And they will beat their swords into plowshares is a concept that is understood and obligated also by human intellect. Intellectually understood laws, since human intellect obligates the world existing through righteousness and justice, thus negating war, which brings destruction, heaven forbid, to the extent of ultimately destroying warfare. And they will beat their swords and transforming them into tools that contribute to the settling of the world, plowshares. And notwithstanding this, throughout all the generations, many wars were waged between nations of the world, which brought about destruction in the world, opposite of what is obligated by human intellect. We must therefore say that the true reason for the fact that in the recent time period we see a desire to end the era of wars in the world, and the beginning of the new era is which the world exists through righteousness, justice, peace, and unity, as exceedingly emphasized in the decision and announcement of the leaders of the world's nations on this era of Shabbos, is not only due to the intellectual obligation, intellectually understood laws, since the intellectual obligation exists also in the generation before this, rather also mainly because we are approaching the time about which the Torah announces from Sinai that they will beat their swords into plowshares. And based on this, we may say that the decision and announcement of the leaders and world's nations on Erev Shabbos on the Torah portion of Mishpatim regarding the state of, and they will beat their swords into plowshares as an outcome of the decision and announcement of the kings and the rabbis that here he, King Mashiach, come, beginning with the ruling of my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe leader of our generation, that we have already completed our service, our deeds in service of the time of exile, and we are already prepared to accept Mashiach, as well as the ruling authority rabbis among the Jewish people, that the time of redemption has arrived. A king will arise from the house of David, receiving the status of Mashiach, including the status of, behold, he is certainly Mashiach, a ruling from Sinai, which is drawn forth and permeates also the realm of the world, to the extent that the leader of the nations of the world are deciding and announcing using their own logic and in their courts, which have the strength of the law of the country as the law regarding the state of, and they will beat their swords into plowshares. And may we say that the emphasis on the connection of this decision and announcement of the ruling from Sinai is revealed on the day of Shabbos, upon which the matters of Erev Shabbos, also including the announcement by the leaders of the world's nation, are elevated by the holiness of the Shabbos day. He shall eat on Shabbos in a manner of snatching from before it. When we read from the Torah and the entire Torah portion of Mishpatim amidst the congregation, and with the blessing before it and after it, in which is emphasized also the intellectually understood laws are from Sinai, and likewise in our case that the announcement of the leader of the world's nations regarding they will beat their swords into plowshares based on their logical decisions, intellectually understood laws that the nation of the world rule in their courts is an outcome of the ruling of the Torah from Sinai regarding the coming of Mashiach. And may we add additional points in the connection of the Torah portion of Mishpatim to the end of time of exile and the beginning of redemption in order of the Torah portion, that the Torah portion of Mishpatim comes right after the Torah portion of Yitro, which ends with the laws of the altar. Why is the passage regarding laws following the passage regarding altar to teach you that the Sanhedrin, Jewish Supreme Court, should be located next to the sanctuary, the altar, which this alludes to the fulfillment of the prophecy, and I will return your judges as in the beginning, the return of the Sanhedrin to their chambers in the third Beis Hamikdash, called Lishkas, Hagolzis. And likewise, in the continuation of the Torah portion and the daily portion of Erev Shabbos, to bring you into the place that I have prepared. My place is already evident, parallel to it, and this is the one verse which teach us that the Beis Hamikdash is above, is precisely parallel to the Beis Hamikdash below. And from the Torah portion of Mishpatim, we come to the Torah portion of Truma, to the extent we begin reading it during the Mincha prayer of Shabbos, the Torah portion of Mishpatim, in which the Hashem and the command, and they shall make for me a sanctuary, I will dwell among them, which refers to the command to build the tabernacle, the first and second Beis Hamikdash, and also mainly the third Beis Hamikdash, the sanctuary, which you, O Hashem, have established with your hands. And between them there is the Torah portion of Mishpatim, in order to emphasize the matters of the redemption, the third Beis Hamikdash, the altar, and the Sanhedrin. In these Torah portions, Yisro and Truma are in a manner of Mishpatim, intellectually understood laws, which are obligated even from the perspective of human intellect, namely that they are already been drawn forth and have permeated the realm of the world, that the world from its own initiative announces that the time of redemption has arrived. Furthermore, and mainly also in the Torah portion of Mishpatim itself, we can see the connection to the end of time of exile and beginning of the redemption based on the explanation of Torah portion of Mishpatim in the oral Torah. The laws which are disguised in the Torah portion of Mishpatim regarding matters, the laws which are discussed in Torah portion of Mishpatim regarding matters between man and his friend are explained in the oral Torah in the order of Neskin, which the entire Neskin and its essence of one tractate is then divided into the first tract contained into three parts, beginning with Baba Kama, which discusses damages, an ox, a pit, a fire, and one who wounded his friend. For a judge may not proceed to do anything before removing from the community things that may cause damage, and for the reason that he preceded these laws before all other laws. Afterwards, Baba Mitzah, which discusses claims, guardianship, rental, and the law of borrows and hired work, just in order of the verses in the Torah portion of Mishpatim, that after the laws of an ox, a pit, a fire, and when people will quarrel, he speaks about the four guardians. Afterwards, Baba Baba Basara, which discusses the division of land and the laws regarding shared dwellings, and he places the section last, since it is all the laws that have been placed given over to the generation to generation, as well as intellectual concepts that are not elaborated upon in the Torah. And this is also emphasized in the words of the Zohar, 3 courts of justice. They are the sages established in the court order of the Mishnah. The first one regarding the 4 categories of damages and ox, the second regarding a talis parashah that is found, a third regarding partners, and the raza, secret of the lost object. They chose the order of the verse as it is written regarding all acts of negligence. Regarding an ox, a donkey, a sheep refers to Baba Kama, for it discusses these things. Regarding clothes refers to Baba Mitzea. Regarding all lost object refers to the third Baba Rasa, namely that the 3 sections of Nizakin are alluded to in the verse of regarding all acts of negligence, which is the Torah portion of Mishpatim. And the explanation of this, damages or Nizakin, alludes to the general time of exile, which is divided into 3 corresponding into the general exile when there are undesirable matters, Nizakin in the world, beginning with the 4 basic damages during Baba Kama, the first stage of exile, and likewise manner of disagreement and quarrel. This one says, I found it, and this one says, I found it. They shall divide it. During the Baba Metzah, middle stage of exile, until Baba Barasa, the last stage and the end culmination of the exile, which starts off with the partner that want to make a division in the courtyard. That from their goodwill, they're doing this because they want to, inferring to the fact that they do not want to. They are doing this because they want to, inferring to the fact that if they do not want to, they are not obligated. Without being forced to do so, they discuss the manner to eliminate the damages of one of them, seeing that the other one is doing in privacy. And this conclusion is with the statement, one who desires to become wise should study the monetary laws in the Torah, the supremacy of the wisdom of the Torah Sinai in a matter that is also permeated to the realm of the world, monetary laws, intellectually understood laws, which through this the risk of undesirable manners, Nezakin, is nullified and completely eliminated at the end and culmination of the exile, which then begins the true and complete redemption, the third and trifold redemption, which transforms the 3 exiles, and likewise the third and trifold Beis Hamikdash, which includes the tabernacle, first and second Beis Hamikdash, and transforms their destruction into buildings and manifestations. And to add to their tractate of Baba Basara, the end of the culmination of the exile, there is an allusion also to the true and complete redemption through Mashiach in the known Talmudic passage, in which many of the prophetic prophecies of the redemption are expounded upon, and among them, in the future Hashem will make a feast for the righteous among the flesh of the Leviathan. In the future Hashem will make a sukkah, a tent for the righteous from the skin of the Leviathan, and will make their gates of Kodkod in the stones of the walls of Jerusalem. One said Kodkod means onyx, another one said jasper, upon which Hashem said to them, it shall be this as well as that, both types of precious stones. In the future Hashem will raise up Jerusalem 3 parsos, as the verse says, and it will be raised and settled in its place, and you might think that it will be troubling to ascend up to it. Therefore the verse says, who are these that fly like clouds and like doves to their nest, as with Talmudic passage regarding the division of the land of Israel in the time to come. The above spoken intensifies the wonder together with the great distress that so much so that they, due to the greatness of the distress, is inappropriate to speak too much about it on Shabbos. How is it possible that Jewish people still find themselves in exile, and until when? We'll repeat that. The above spoken intensifies the wonder together with the great distress, and so much so that due to the greatness of the distress, it is inappropriate to speak so much about it on Shabbos. How is it possible that the Jewish people still find themselves in exile, until when? How is it possible that after all the signs indicating the coming of the true and complete redemption, literally, immediately, including the event on this Erev Shabbos, in which even the nations of the world are announcing that we have reached an era, and they will beat their swords into plowshares, we find ourselves on this holy Shabbos day in the diaspora, instead of finding ourselves together with all the Jewish people from the entire world in the Holy Land and the holy city of Jerusalem, in the holy Beis Hamikdash, sitting at the laden table prepared to be eaten from, upon which lays the Eliezer, the wild ox, and the garden wine. Furthermore, and mainly, that we have not yet received the notification, command, and empowerment that they shall make for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell among them, as we read in the Torah. As we read the Torah during the Mincha prayer with regard to the building of the third Beis Hamikdash, and from this we understand the great necessity to add with advanced vigor and greater strength in the manner that hasten and bring the redemption to true actuality, literally immediately, and first and foremost, in the matter which is emphasized in the Torah portion of Mishpatim. Mishpatim, details of the laws between man and his friend in a peaceful manner, and obviously not doing the opposite, thereby nullifying the reason for the last exile, which through the redemption comes as the word of our sages regarding the virtue of justice, which with it Jerusalem is built, as the verse says, Zion is redeemed with justice, and likewise tzedakah and its captives with tzedakah, and the acts of kindness regarding which is explicitly written in our Torah portion. If you will lend money to my nations, to the poor man, great acts of kindness, loans, even greater than tzedakah, as explained also in the Talmudic passages in Baba Basara, and the elucidation of the Torah portion of Mishpatim in the oral Torah, and the details of the commandment of tzedakah, and among the main details, great is tzedakah, since it hastens the redemption, as the verse says, so says Hashem, guard justice and do tzedakah, for my salvation is near, and my tzedakah will soon be revealed, beginning with a timely manner, as is the custom every year, that Motzi Shabbos, the night following the holy Shabbos of the Torah portion, including the verse, if you lend money, there will be a Malava Malka dinner to benefit the free loan fund, and beginning that the public needs are discussed on Shabbos, it is befitting that the administrator of the free loan fund should ascend and announce regarding the Malava Malka dinner, and certainly it will proceed the most beautiful manner. That will be a vast nation that glorifies the King, and they will donate from the goodness of their hearts the free loan fund, and furthermore and mainly that the resolution to do so will immediately bring the reward. It will bring the redemption, and literally immediately when the Malava Malka, the meal of David, Malka Mashiach, David, the ancestor of King Mashiach, will be together with the leader of our generation, our righteous Mashiach, at our head, in our holy land, at the holy city of Jerusalem, and in the third Beis Hamikdash, and in the wording of the beginning of the tractate Baba Basara, the partners that desire that the conduct and relationship between one another in a manner of two partners in which one only wants good of the other partner must certainly so for the resolution and announcement of the leaders of the world nations regarding unity among them, and through this they shall build the wall, hew stones, which they may say that this alludes to the building of the Beis Hamikdash, as the continuation of the Talmudic passage, smoothly fashioned stones, as it is written, all of these were precious stones, hew stone size, as the continuation to this, the Talmudic speaking about the virtue of the second Beis Hamikdash, greater than the first, both in structure as well as the amount of years it stood, as it is written, the honor of his last house will be greater than the first house, which the verse refers to also and mainly the third Beis Hamikdash, as explained in the Zohar. And in continuation of this, also the instruction from the beginning of the Torah portion of Truma, which we read in the Mincha prayer of this Shabbos, and they shall make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them, beginning with the individual sanctuary within each and every Jew. In it does not say rather in them, within each and every one, rather within one's heart, and in one's house, and in one's room, that it becomes the house of Torah, prayer, and acts of kindness, including especially through taking part in building and broadening of synagogue and study halls, in a matter of they shall take a donation from me, from each and every Jew, gold, silver, and copper, which through this we hasten and bring about the immediate and building of the third Beis Hamikdash in its most literal sense. And there is a special empowerment for all the above in these days. In addition to the unique advantage of the month of Shvat, the 11th month, we are now coming from the 25th of the month, which alludes to Koach, so they bless the Jewish people. The priestly blessing, so bless the nation to the Jewish people with love specifically, and likewise regarding priestly blessings, which each and every Jewish blessing, and they shall bless me, a kingdom of priests at the beginning of each and every day, following the blessing of the Torah, which must be said with a feeling of love to our fellow Jew, as emphasized also in the fact that the continuation of this, and even before the morning prayer, each and every Jew says, I hereby accept myself the power of the positive commandment to love your fellow as yourself. As the Alter Rebbe writes, the prayer book suited for every person equally. Furthermore, and mainly the priestly blessing, including all the blessing at the height of perfection, it has the virtue of the blessing as well as the virtue of a prayer, and especially the most essential blessing, the blessing of the true and complete redemption, literally immediately. And following this, the 26th day of the Erev Shabbos, the numerical value of the name Havaya, which is connected to the fulfillment of the mitzvah. So shall you bless the Jewish people through the Kohens in the Beis Hamikdash with the Tentagram nation, not as in the time of exile. And the preparation for this is through the service of the Jewish people, a kingdom of Kohens, in a manner of I place Havaya before me always, even during the time of exile, which through this we hasten and bring about the revelation of the name Havaya in the entire world, after and through its revelation in the priestly blessing in the Beis Hamikdash, just as I am written, so am I called, my name is pronounced. And following the 27th of the month, the Holy Shabbos day, to raise up a continuous amp of olive oil, the pure gold menorah made of one piece of gold, which alluded to the unity of the 7 types of Jewish souls who were compared to the 7 branches of menorah. And following the 28th day, Chaf Hes of the month of Sunday, is an additional koach, power, strength to all these manners. The following of Erev Rosh Chodesh, the day ushering the head of the month, which is the preparation for Rosh Chodesh and the renewal of the month of the moon. On Rosh Chodesh, after its concealment of Erev Rosh Chodesh, alludes to the renewal of the Jewish people who are destined to be renewed like it in the true and complete redemption, and especially since Rosh Chodesh occurs on the 3rd day of the week, when the utterance of that it is good was repeated, and the beginning with the true and good redemption, especially double good, which double is connected to the redemption, and with extra emphasis regarding the month of Adar, which has a healthy mazel, being that it is the month that was transformed to joy, the joy of the redemption of Purim. The redemption of the redemption is next to the redemption. Purim next to Pesach, which Pesach is connected to the ultimate redemption. As the days you left the land of Egypt, I will show you wonders, the ultimate redemption. Next to also in changing the order, namely that the true and complete redemption comes before the redemption of Purim. And to add that although redemption next to redemption refers to the second altar, Adar, which is close to Nisan, and not to the first Adar, which is announced and blessed today, we may say that this is the fact also referring to Adar that is close to Shvat. For from the wording of the Mishnah, there is no difference between the first Adar and second Adar, besides for the reading of the Megillah and giving presents to the poor. We can infer that in other matters, and in our case, in relation to the redemption, they are the same. And furthermore, since it is called not merely Adar, rather first Adar, it makes sense to say it is the first also in virtue and importance, as emphasized regarding the 7th of Adar, which is connected to the nullification of the degree of Haman. And the lot fell out on the month of Adar, and he did not know that on the 7th of Adar Moshe was born, which is mainly celebrated in the first Adar. And likewise we find regarding many matters the mention of Adar without specifying which one refers to the first Adar. In addition to this also, although on this Shabbos, upon when we bless the month, they announce, as per the instruction of the Torah, a Jewish custom in Torah, that the Rosh Chodesh of the first Adar is on Tuesday. Behold, when Mashiach will come immediately before Rosh Chodesh, upon which we will once again sanctify the month based on seeing the moon. It is possible that the Sanhedrin may change this and decide that there will only be one Adar, and that there will be next to Nisan, and this befits to elaborate on this. However, it is not the place. And may it be the will of Hashem that this is the main thing, that the true and complete redemption through Mashiach comes in literally immediately. And most certainly that there is no need to wait until the month of Nisan, and not even until the month of Adar close to Nisan, and not even until the month of Adar close to Shabbat, since Mashiach comes on Shabbos, upon which we bless the month of the first of Adar, and at the end of the month of Shvat, the 27th of Shvat, and especially on the Shabbos afternoon, in the time of the Mincha prayer and the third Shabbos meal, which is connected to the third redemption, and the third Beis Hamikdash, and so may it be for us in literal actuality, literally immediately, with all the explanations of miyad, immediately also including the acronym for the generation in general, Moshe, Yisrael, the Baal Shem Tov, and David, the ancestor of King Mashiach, and all explanations of mamish literally, the first and foremost, miyad mamish in the most literal sense, mamish, mamish, mamish. Thank you for watching. Zai Gazun.